Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you have not been here before, my name is Debbie. I really do just read a ridiculous amount of books. Today I have got the first of two books, I believe, by Hazel, and this book is called Away with the Penguins. This has been my theatre book. This is the book that has made it to the theatre with me when I've been working, so that if I'm not inside the auditorium, when it gets quiet, I can read. And I believe I started this book on a show that was called something about polar bears. I found it quite ironic that I was reading a book about penguins on a show which had a title about polar bears.
Just stepping in to say that in regards to the show that I read it on, the polar bear is dead. I never got to see the show, but I heard it was a very, very powerful, funny show about climate change. So I think it was going on tour afterwards. If it is anywhere and you get a chance to see it, go see it, because I heard amazing things about it.
Let's just get into that blurb, shall we? Veronica McCready lives in a mansion by the sea. She loves a nice cup of tea and a good wildlife documentary. And she's never seen without her ruby red lipstick. Although these days Veronica is rarely seen by anyone, because at 85 her days are spent mostly at home alone. Veronica doesn't have family or friends nearby, not that she knows about anyway, and she has no idea where she's going to leave her considerable wealth when she dies. But today, Veronica is going to make a decision that will change everything. So at the beginning of the book you meet Veronica. There's our lovely little Veronica in her red anorak with her red bag and a couple of penguins. At the beginning of the book you meet Veronica and her housekeeper, assistant type person. She lives in a very, very big house in Scotland. Throughout her life she's basically sitting on like £1 million. That's how much she has, just because she married into the right circle, and yeah, she's just very, very rich. And at this point she's 85 years old and she's starting to think about her will. Now, she has no family that she knows of left, and so she's trying to figure out where to send her money. And she becomes obsessed with a documentary about penguins. I could turn into Benedict Cumberbatch. Penguins. She's obsessed with a documentary about penguins, and she decides she wants to donate into penguin research, essentially. And she becomes obsessed with a certain type of penguin. Is it elderly penguin? Is it elderly? And basically you get a couple of different points of view in the book. Veronica's, also known as Very, she's called Very. You get some of her old diaries which she gives to somebody, which I'm about to go into. You also got a penguin blog from a woman called Terry, who is out in Antarctica studying penguins. This was such a lovely read. It's heartwarming and beautiful, and also sad at places when you look back on Very's childhood through her diaries. We find out altogether that she has a grandson that she doesn't know about, and that's the point when Very is in a place of just thinking, do I still want to give everything to the penguins? Do I want to leave some money to the grandson that I have never known? When she's trying to sort it all out, her housekeeper assistant person looks things up for her, finds out if there is any living family left, and they're just like, oh, there's a guy called Patrick who is your son's son. Basically you find out the story of Veronica as a young woman and her relationships, and the son, who you do find out in the text, died, and what happened there with that relationship, and how she basically became distant and doesn't have any family left, and how she came to believe that she didn't have any family left. In a way it's a bit of a coming of age story for little Granny McCready, because she's been a bit of a recluse for a very, very long time, and through the events of these books, well, through the events of this book at least, I've only just started the other one so I can't talk for that one yet, you find her enjoying life all of a sudden in her middle 80s. And because she's been a recluse in Scotland and she has this massive mansion all to herself with no family and not really any friends, she just got the one person in her life, and then she sees this documentary on penguins, becomes obsessed, decides she wants to give money to the penguins, and then writes a letter to the researchers saying, I want to come visit Antarctica and look at the penguins and see what you're doing before I officially put all this into my will. And obviously they're just like, no. You're in your 80s, this isn't, there isn't like a hotel, it's a research centre, and so we don't really know if that's really going to work. But, you know, Granny McCready here is stubborn, and so she goes, no, I'm coming, I'm going to book flights, just tell me what boat I need to get and all this sort of stuff. She's just there going to say, no, I'm coming, I want to view the penguins, I want to see them. And so she makes it out to Antarctica. It's kind of a bit of a crazy premise for a book, but I absolutely loved it. And it basically goes on to the relationship that she does not have, but her grandson wants with her, and the friendships that she makes while she's in Antarctica, and everything she goes through while she's out there. It's just such a heartwarming story, because I said that you see some point of view of her as a young woman through her diaries. She leaves a box of her diaries with her grandson when she finds out who he is. And originally it's supposed to be the idea that he's going to read them after she's gone, but it just comes to the point where it's just like, no, I'm just going to read them. And so he learns about his granny's life, this woman that he's never known, and yeah, it's just... There were times in the book I wanted to cry because it was just so sweet, and then there's other times when I wanted to cry based on what she went through as a young woman, and what she went through when she got pregnant, when she was a young woman, when she was like late teenager, and you know, she was in Scotland, and this was 80 years ago. I say 80 years ago, it was like 70 years ago. And so you kind of see where it's going in regards to what happened as essentially a teen pregnancy in a place which would have been very religious. So when you learn about that story through the diaries, her grandson doesn't realise what's going on, and he's just there going, why did she just give away her son? And I'm just there going, no, that's not what happened. I've read a few books that have this storyline, and it really does, it is mainly used as a plot device against women who seem to be very reclusive or angry, and it's just like, there's a reason that they are that way. And yeah, at the beginning of the book, when you see her, just a very stubborn woman who seems to hold grudges, and when she first meets Patrick, her grandson, at his flat, she turns up early, he hasn't hidden anything away, you can tell he's been doing drugs in his flat, and very just instantly has a grudge against her grandson. It's just, I've seen he didn't even tidy up, you know, he's been smoking whatever he's been smoking and all this sort of stuff. And then her life in Antarctica just completely changes the way that she sees things, and she creates a friendship with Terry, who writes the blog, and they adopt a little penguin that's not very well. She basically forces them to intervene in a moment of young orphan penguin, and was just like, you need to look after this thing, like, you're here to research, but at the same time you can't just let this little one die. And so she forces them to hand rear a penguin. It's just like, it's just so much stuff happens in this book. It is just so lovely. I cannot wait to read the next one, Away with the Penguins, Hazel Pryor. And the next one is Call of the Penguins. I stand up because it's on my bedside table over there where I've been reading it, because I think I wasn't that far off the end after reading it a lot at the theatre, and it was just like, right, if I just like put on some background noise, I've been like listening to like some podcasts and stuff, and it was just like, I'm just going to put on a little bit of background noise and just sit down and read. Normally I can't read when like other things are going on, but for some bizarre reason I just needed some background noise as I was reading this. I don't know why, but it just helped a little bit. I don't know. But yeah, it's lovely. I love the front cover, it's gorgeous, and I just love the detail with her in her red coat and her red bag, and it's a whole thing of like, she's not prepared at all for Antarctica, and so she's that, you know, I think she does buy some stuff specific, but a lot of the time she is just there with her like little posh little handbag, and there's a point where one of her handbags gets mauled by a very angsty penguin. But yeah, just beautiful cover. Does it say on here who does the artwork? I find it really difficult to find all of that information. Oh, at the very back, in small letters right at the bottom, images, Getty Images, design Joe Thompson. Away with the Penguins, Hazel Pryor. I have started the next one and I'm really looking forward to reading it. Yeah. Beautiful, lovely, heartwarming. It makes me cry all the emotions. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time with another video. Mwah. Stay safe, everybody.